actually completely unknown. Probably one of the most difficult animals I've had to track is a pangolin. Now we know, I'm sure some of you have seen pictures of a pangolin before. I'll show you again. Hold on a second. I'll just find it and show you what a pangolin looks like. So that's a pangolin. Look at that. Very prehistoric looking animal. Some people would refer to it as a scaly anteater. Some of you might be thinking it looks like a armadillo that you get in the US. It's not armadillo at all. It's called a pangolin. Some of you might think it looks like an artichoke or a pine cone. It does when it rolls up a little bit. Now the pangolin is incredibly rare and very, very endangered. Not many people know about it. And the sad thing with the pangolin is it's one of the most trafficked animals out of Africa. So people hunt them and poach them for their scales, which is again, it's terrible. And it's It gets exported to the east and sold for medicinal use, but those scales have absolutely no medicinal use at all. It's all a myth. It's all a theory. Again, it's just made up of keratin and our nails. That's it. No, that's all it is. So no medicinal use at all. But that's a pangolin, and now the pangolin is mainly nocturnal, very rare, only found, it's found through most parts of South Africa, but you just very, very seldom see them. Now, there have been pangolin sightings in the Sabi Sands recently, the northern Sabi Sands, but that's probably the hardest animal I've had to track, and I've tracked them in the Kalahari a number of times. Very small, faint tracks, not easy. Occasionally, you might get the tail drag mark in the sand, because they do drop their tail a little bit. But it's not very easy at all. Not easy at all. So that would be the hardest, definitely by far, is the pangolin track that I've had to track. But we did find it. We found a few pangolin before, but it's not easy. All right, now Tristan's still tracking also a little faint track, maybe a track of a young leopard. Let's go have a look.
Well, we are, Byron, although these tracks, they look like they're from during the night sometime. There is a bit of rain on top of them, so it's not right now. Now, I was wondering why Rusty was over-revving so much, but I forgot that I had to put Rusty into low range just now to get over a branch. That's better. And so it could be that this leopard is quite far from here already. I checked around the dam, nothing that I could see there. Now I'm just doing a little loop around just to check that they haven't come out of the section that they cut into. So far nothing that I can see. It's tough though. The ground has gotten this sort of shine to it, and it's not as puffy and sandy as what it was yesterday. After this bit of rain, it almost becomes sort of crusty, and it's difficult to see tracks in substrate like this. So nothing that I can see coming out there. Let's try this side. That's that. Hold on. It might be a track for him. I'm just trying to see. Yes, so there we go. So here is our track over there. Just out of shot. Oh, okay, Ferg, don't worry, let me reposition and then I'll show you. Sorry, it caught me by surprise as well. I didn't think it would be so close to the car. I thought I had seen it a little further away, but I'm going to go around. Okay. That's better, Ferg? Alright. So, we can see that the track is over here. So here is the actual footprint. There's the front foot, and then the back foot on top of it. So here is the sort of track going forward. The toes are in this space over there. So I'm going to try and just make this a little bit brighter so that you can see it, and then it comes around like that. Now this particular track, I'm just touching the edges of it to try and see how fresh it actually is. When you touch the edges of a track after rain, it will go hard and crispy, and yesterday afternoon we had those hard crispy tracks, whereas this track is quite soft, and I can actually sort of knock the edges over very, very easily, which means that it was probably sometime this morning, and it carried on up, going straight in this direction. So I'm going to go and just quickly check now around towards Hyena Den side and see if this leopard didn't go that way. But very, very cool to see that we've at least got another leopard somewhere on the property. I love when weeks start like this. When weeks start with lots of leopard activity, it makes me a happy man. Now hopefully we can find this one, or Byron can find it. We need Byron to find us a leopard. I think he's long overdue some spots in his life, and he's definitely put in the hard yards to try and find a leopard, so I'm hoping that his luck changes and he does get one, because it can be frustrating when you spend long hours trying to find them and track them and you don't have much luck. It's always good if you can. Now, where did this leopard go? So I'm going to try and just quickly get one direction, so that when I link over to Byron, I can tell him which way to go and check, so that he can help us in this area and maybe he'll get lucky. It looks like our leopard has gone to the west here. So is the track there? Fer, can you see it? On your left side. I think I see one there. Ah, okay, good. So we are going west with these tracks, so we'll follow up and carry on and see if we can't find them. But if Byron is somewhere on the western side of Djuma, then that will be good, and he can maybe give us a hand in trying to find this particular individual. Now, let's see. I'm gonna just try and check if there's nothing in these marula trees. I've seen Hosanna and Shongile in marula trees here as well, so I just want to quickly check, but I don't see anything this side anymore. Just want to try and check on this side of the road. And this is the thing with tracking, is that you kind of got to keep checking all the time, because they cut off and then it's impossible to find. Now it looks like they have cut off and that they're no longer on the road, so now I need to go back and just make 100% sure which way this leopard went. It could have gone back into the block. Is that you there? So difficult on the substrate, but it looks like it's carried on now. I've got the track again. Alright, let's check in this nice soft sand, because the nice soft sand in front here makes it much easier to see the tracks. Where are you, tracks? Come on, show yourself. No, nothing here. Right, so it looks like our leopard has turned off somewhere, so I'm gonna have to go back and recheck that area. So Zoe, you want to know if animals stay in areas where there is either, well, in territories or where there is water. Well, Zoe, a bit of both. So most of our animals out here, like leopard, lion, rhinos, these kind of animals are all territorial and viciously territorial, and they'll try and encompass both water and food. And sometimes their territories will shift, like last year in the drought. Their territory shifts slightly because food becomes a big problem and they can't find the food that they need. And so you'll end up with a situation where they'll try and shift to try and get the water and food that they need to survive. So a lot of the animals are. Other animals like elephant, they have what's called a home range. So they have a huge area that they move around in, but they're not territorial. They don't defend their territory. They don't chase others out of it. They're quite happy for others to be within their home range, but they all have an area that they move around in. Things like buffalo, zebra, they tend, well, zebra here are a little bit more territorial, but buffalo, they're very transient. They just move wherever there is food or water, and so they don't actually hold a fixed territory itself. Right, well, there's definitely no tracks coming down this way, so I need to turn around. I thought I'd just give it a chance, but let's see. Right, now I'm going to go check this area again and just make 100% sure where these tracks go. While I do that, let's go and check Byron and see if he's marking his territory or has moved into a territory of his own.
Tristan, I'm not marking my territory, no. I'm now checking the northern boundary, the Buffelshoek cut line, to see if there's any sign of lions crossing in or out. And Tristan said it's high time I find a leopard, or but then Craig said, well, it's high time I find anything. So thank you, Craig. Really builds a man up. I'm just having a look here carefully to see if there are any tracks. But no one has seen tracks of lions this morning yet. I haven't heard anyone call anything in yet, which is unfortunate. Memes, you asked about cheetah. Any cheetah spotting recently? No. We haven't seen cheetah for quite some time on Safari Live, from what I understand. I wonder, have they had luck in the Mara with cheetah since they've been up there? I wonder. I don't know. Do any of you know? Have they seen cheetah up in the Masai Mara? They have. Okay, so they have seen cheetah. I mean, get the updates of the lions and that get found often, but I don't know about, since I've been here they haven't seen cheetah. The last week or so. So it has been a while. It's been a while. Well, hopefully some cheetah pop up at some point. You never know. It would be great to also see those wild dogs. I mean, we had tracks of them here the other day, but they've disappeared. And as I said, they're busy denning on Singita at the moment, from what I understand, the northern part of Singita. So they won't move away from that area too much because they've got to return and feed the alpha female and the pups. So the dogs, the pack, when they do run around, they don't move or cover as much distance anymore. Oh, it sounds like Tristan's out the car. Do you see something? Oh, there's something up there. What is it? It looks like kudu, and it is kudu right up at the end of the road. You can just see some kudu up there. Are they fighting? Let's have a look there. Yeah, look at that. Some kudu sparring. Now, I know if I do drive closer, they'll probably run off. But look at that. Let me just go a little bit closer. Maybe we can get a view of them. Two male kudu sparring. Oh, that's interesting. I haven't seen that for a very long time. Now, Daniel, you asked if the male kudus have a harem. Well, Daniel, the male kudu, it's not necessarily a harem, no, because they don't stick around with the females, so they don't stay and keep them together like a zebra would. Zebra's got probably the correct definition of a harem is what a zebra has. A male will have a number of females that he then stays with for quite some time, not just during the mating season. And while with the kudu, however, what happens is the males will compete for. Hold on a second, I just want to have a look what tracks these are here. Sorry, Daniel. Getting back to your question, the kudu, however, the kudu, the males have what we call. I'm sorry, I'm now looking at these tracks. I'm getting confused. So the kudu, the males fight with one another and they compete, but they'll compete just to mate with a group of females for that mating season or for that particular time. Then they move off again, and the males form bachelor herds, and the females generally stay together with the groups of the youngsters. But it's unlikely that sometimes you see the males moving with the females, but it's not a harem. It's not like zebra. Excuse me a second, I just want to jump off here. These tracks look interesting. Oh my word, everyone. Let's see. You won't believe it. You won't believe what tracks I have found here. Now, can you see, Craig? I wonder, are you able to see this little section here where my finger is? Can you? Yeah. So there's actually three very clear toes just over here. Three clear toes. This animal's walked along the road here. It walked there and came back again. Now, I wonder if any of you can guess what this three-toed animal is. Well, I can see sometimes there's a fourth toe, but it's actually three toes that we see very clearly. Now this looks like from early this morning, and because the soil is still quite soft, there's not much rain on top of it. We did have a bit of drizzle yesterday. Now I'll give you a clue. It's got very, very sharp claws and it can dig holes really, really well. Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting. I wonder where it went. I don't think we'd find it. But it's great to see tracks here of this animal. Now, let me see if I've got any answers from you yet. It's like I say, you can see the three very now I've had some answers. Leopard and civet. Jay, you say honey badger. It's not a leopard, it's not a civet, it's not a honey badger. Like I say, only the three toes. I'm just going to see if I can find the track quickly for you. Dal, you say pangolin. No, but let me see if I can just one. Was it Vicky? You say you've got it right, Vicky. You've got it right. Now, these tracks belong to an aardvark, everyone. Those are fresh aardvark tracks from early this morning. Now, have a look here. I'll show you in this book, my tracker book. So that's the aardvark over there. But let me show you the tracks that are nice and clear in the book. Now, that is a strange animal, but have a look. You see the tracks down there? Those three clear toes, 1, 2, 3. Can you see that? On the front foot and the hind foot, very, very clear tracks. Now, that is exactly what those are, the aardvark. Now, that is exciting. It's so funny, we were describing it, or speaking about it yesterday, the aardvark, and when last we saw one here, James found a dead one in a burrow quite a while back. I think 2015 he found one, or 2016, somewhere around there. I've only seen two aardvark in this area. One was being eaten by lions and one was being eaten by a leopard. They do occur in this area. Now, what would have happened with that slight change in weather that we had yesterday, a bit of rain that we had? That would have probably brought some of these nocturnal animals out and made them a bit more active, looking for food. So a little bit of rain, a little bit of drizzle, the aardvark would have thought maybe it's a good time to start looking for some termite activity. That's what they feed on, and that's why that aardvark was moving around, possibly looking for food early this morning. But again, you see, strictly nocturnal, or not strictly, mostly nocturnal, and especially out in this area. So I'll try and move around to avoid predators. That's very exciting. Much like this aardvark was. Let's go and see how his leopard tracking is going.
Well, I wish I had the nose like an aardvark, because then I would just smell this leopard and just sniff it out and find it. But alas, we are relying on just, tracking skill, and so far not going that well. Well, I suppose it's not going badly. The tracks go from where we were and cut into this section on our left hand side, and now I've come all the way onto the other side, and I'm trying to see if they don't come out here somewhere. So far, no luck on them coming out. It seems like they potentially are still inside here. Now, I checked very carefully in a certain section when we found the last tracks going into this area, just to see how fresh they were, and it kind of touched them and they just disintegrated. So they're on top of the rain in places. So I reckon that this leopard is somewhere not too far from here, and I'm sure it's Hasana. Just judging by the size of the foot, really can only be him. And those leopard tracks come all the way from Little Gowrie, which is exactly where he normally crosses in at the quarry, and then comes all this way. So hopefully we can find him here somewhere. What is interesting is this is the first time that I've seen him moving up towards sort of Rebecca, Zoe's side. I haven't seen him up this way, and I'm sure with his mom he did come this way, but since Karula has disappeared, I haven't seen him moving anywhere near this area before. So it's quite interesting just to see if there's a little bit of a change in behavior now. as he kind of moves in this direction. The problem is if he's inside here, it's quite a big area, and without being on foot, to find him is going to be nearly impossible. So we're going to try our very best and try and see if we can't sort of follow the tracks with the vehicle if I don't find anything coming out, and try and just do a little off-road towards the drainage that is there, and maybe he's lying inside there. But I don't hold out too much hope, and what we might have to do is might have to ask and enlist Herbie's services during the day today to try and see if we can't just quickly come out here and get onto foot and see if we can't find this leopard if we don't have any luck this morning. Up here is quite nice because you've got a nice sort of vista that you can scan from, and so I was just checking all the trees, the tall trees, and seeing if I can't spot a leopard just sort of hanging from the branches. We know that Hosana does sometimes like to be up in a marula tree, so it's always worth, just in places like this, having a stop, looking in all the big trees, seeing if there's not potentially a leopard hanging out somewhere there. So, White Lady Eon, you're asking if we have any evergreens. Now, in terms of the trees that we see that hold their leaves all through the winter and even in sort of the summer months, we have the jackalberries. Most of the time they keep their leaves. Last year in the drought, funny enough, they actually lost some of them because I think it was just too intense. We find that the guarries will keep their leaves through the winter months. You'll find scotias will keep their leaves. So most of the ones that are on river systems and anywhere where there's a drainage section, that they have these deep tap roots that go down and are able to then pick up water under the surface of the ground. And so those are the trees that hold their leaves throughout the year and stay nice and green. Now, what is that over there? Oh, it's just a branch, a leopard looking branch. There's kind of a branch that had a sort of kink in it, but it's far away and it looked like two legs were just hanging down. So I was just having a look. Wishful thinking, I know, but well, worth having a double check anyway. But it's very still this morning, and at least for the first time in the last sort of 24 hours, we've got some sort of blue sky showing itself. So there's a nice bit of blue sky that is out. Oh, Ferg, look what I've got. I've got a passenger that's just crawling on me. So here we have a mantid that has decided to join me for the morning. And I think we picked this guy up when we were following Tingana, because I remember seeing one on our dashboard, but this one's decided now that it would rather walk around on my sleeve, and so it unfortunately is moving, so I'll try. Just hold on, let's just see if he'll go on my hand. There we go, Ferg. How's that? Is that better? So I was a little bit close to the lens for it to focus, but there you can see our mantid. Look how cool it is. You can see the antenna just flickering in the breeze, those massive eyes that they use to hunt, and then those long forelegs that are almost scissor-like that they grab their prey with and then hold them and then use those mouth parts to feed off. Remember, mantids are massive predators, so they eat lots of different things. And in fact, I was reading an article last night of a mantis that killed a hummingbird and was eating the hummingbird, and it decapitated the honeybird. Can you imagine that? That's pretty insane. So it must have been a rather large mantis, but still, it just shows you how effective they are when it comes to actually hunting and to trying to get the food that they need. So a very cool article to have read and to have seen, and they even have pictures of it as well, because I wouldn't have believed it otherwise. Now, the reason why they're called praying mantis is because those two front legs that you see that come down, that have that sort of archway, they put those together very often. When they sit on a branch, they sort of tilt back slightly, and those two are forward, and it almost looks like someone that is praying, and sort of someone that's gone to a church service and has its hands together and its head bowed down slightly, and so that's where the name came from. But these guys are so cool. They're one of my favorite insects. I love watching them. They come in all shapes and sizes and different colors. This one is almost translucent. You can kind of see its abdominal tract as it goes down. I want to just try and see if I can't turn it a little bit without it moving. No, it's decided it wants to stay with me. Sorry, Ferg. Look, it's trying to look at us. So you see how it just goes from side to side as I move. And what I wanted to try and show you is on its back how well camouflaged it is. It's got this sort of grey coloured back that would blend in perfectly on a tree or grass. So Sally, all the way from Oregon, you say they're the neatest creatures. Well, I agree, Sally. I really like mantids, and I could watch them for hours, particularly when they're active. When you see them moving around at night and they're looking and hunting, it's amazing to watch them and see how efficient they are when it comes to being able to catch certain food items. This guy's decided he's going to chill with us.
You want to try to bring it closer to the lens?
I can try. Ferg, you just tell me. No, wait, hold on. Ferg wants to play with his camera and try and get his macro function working. How close, Ferg? Until
Very close.
very close. Okay, you got to tell me, Ferg. How close? Stop. Well, there's going to be a test of my arm strength. So Byron earlier was talking about going to gym. This is going to be one of those situations where I've got to hold my arm up at an awkward angle. But there we go. So your macro function works quite well, Ferg.
Really well. I couldn't really go beyond.
It is very, I would say, in inches, that would be, what do we reckon, Ferg? Close to 5 inches? Maybe a little less, 4 inches?
Mm-hmm.
That would be about the size of some of these mantids that we get, so they really get quite large. In terms of lifespans, I'm not 100% sure. I would imagine it varies depending on the individuals and species, and depending on sizes and all kinds of things like that. Some insects are very short-lived and others a little bit longer, but I would be lying if I gave you an exact lifespan of a praying mantis. Maybe some of you out there can help us on #SafariLive and let us know what you think. Oh, where did it go? Oh, there it is.
So you can even come even closer to the lens.
I can try, Ferg, but you're now starting to make me do yoga of note. So Tess, you're wondering, you say this might be a silly question, but is a mantid the same as a mantis? Well, yes, they are the same things. We just singular version is a mantid, and otherwise the name itself, praying mantis, refers to the name, but a mantid is just singular for one of these guys. Ferg, are you winning there?
Mm-hmm.
Are you having fun?
I'm having fun. Are you having fun?
Not particularly, because I'm sitting like, I'm not quite sure how else to sit like this, but it's not very pleasant at all. I definitely feel like I'm doing yoga at this stage. So for those of you who are interested to see how I'm sitting, there we go. I've kind of contorted myself into a rather uncomfortable position. And so what I'm going to do is move our mantis, who's now running behind me. Where have you gone? I don't want to squash you. Come, it's time for you to go. Okay, come onto the dashboard. No, that way. So, Chitty Chatty Meg, you say, doesn't the female eat the male after mating? Well, yes, it does. So, unfortunately, if you're a male, you've got a tough time ahead of you, because you're going to go and expect to procreate and have a good time, and, well, unfortunately, then your life gets ended by decapitation as the female grabs you and then eats you and utilizes you as nutrients for her then growing offspring. So, it's not a pleasant way to go, but, well, I suppose at least he gets some sort of fun out of it before he dies. So, not the worst, I suppose. There's worse ways to go, isn't there, Ferg? And also, I feel like decapitation is a quick process with these mantids. It sort of happens so fast that I don't think he struggles too much. And, well, maybe he's just kind of in a daydream state after the act, and it all just happens quite fast. And right, onward and forward. We're delving into horrible subjects now. Let's carry on and see what else we can find. There we go. So, Sean, you say they live to 6 to 8 months. That's very cool. So that's the best part about our job. Besides being out here and experiencing these things, the fact that we get to learn with all of you and that we have all of you to help us, it really is a very cool thing. So thank you for that, Sean. I appreciate that. Now, our mantis is still hanging out with us and we've made friends. We're going to carry on and try and find our leopard, and hopefully our mantis can help us. While we do that, I believe Byron Biceps Sorrel has decided it is that time of the day to gaze upon the African bush while sipping on a cup of Java and eating a rusk.
I have indeed, Tristan. And with this cup of coffee, the rusks are delicious. But I am still looking and listening out for wildlife, for any sign of animals around here. And there's a drainage line just to the left of us at the moment. I'm just having a look through here, because we sometimes get owls in there, those Varro's eagle owls that we do see. Actually heard some ground hornbills this morning. I haven't heard them for quite some time. We used to see them up on the clearings above camp all the time, well, quite regularly. Then they've moved off somewhere else. But they are still around because I heard them this morning. I'm still very excited about those aardvark tracks that we had. Just because we must have been close this morning. I think sometime early this morning, probably when it was still dark. I can only imagine the excitement for any guide that works in this area to see an aardvark. It's very, very rare, and I don't know of anyone that's seen an aardvark, a live aardvark moving around. You never know. We might also have luck with the pangolin. Because of the weather, the aardvark and pangolin, their movements are quite similar. With that bit of rain or drizzle, probably would have sparked a bit of movement from pangolin too. So maybe, you never know, maybe we find one hiding in a bush somewhere. Wouldn't that be great? Now, I am really concerned that I have not been able to find a single lion track. And I've been looking, and we heard the lions last night, unless sometimes what happens is in winter, when the air is quite clear and very thin, the cold air, the sound can travel a lot further. But even Tristan said last night it sounded like those lions were very close to Inga's house where he stays at the moment. Now, Tess, well, if we hear the lions at night, hopefully we can just gauge a direction of where they've come from or where they are. And that will give us an idea of where we should start looking in the morning. Now, it's not always that accurate. Like this morning, they said, well, they heard a male leopard calling somewhere around Mvubu Road. Now, Mvubu Road basically runs to the back of Gallagher, so I headed straight into that area and we heard the leopard, but it also sounded like it was closer maybe towards the dam itself, or that drainage line down from Vuyatela Dam. And Tristan ended up finding the male leopard down Twin Dams Road, which is a little bit further south of that. So he walked through that area, but he walked through and then just headed directly south. But the first call that he did was actually closer to the dam, I'm sure. So it gives us an idea of where to start, but again, the animals move around a lot, so it's not always very accurate. But listening for the animals is one thing, and then just taking a chance, and hopefully you pick the right road sometimes. Maybe you bump into something or pick up some signs or tracks. Rashni, you say pangolin and aardvark would be awesome to watch. They would indeed. Imagine that. Imagine we saw aardvark one morning, early morning, and a pangolin a bit later in the day, maybe in the afternoon. That would be incredible. Very, very lucky. And so strange. These lions were so vocal last night, but nobody's managed to find one yet. I've been listening to the radio just to see if they aren't on the neighboring properties somewhere. But I don't hear anything at the moment. Now, Henny, you were saying your son is busy training at the moment, doing his assessments and that, and he's busy doing his walking assessments. Now, if I can just explain some of the assessments and what we need to go through. So to be a guide in South Africa, and this is mainly for South Africa because we've got the Field Guide Association that we register through and we write our exams and that through them. But there are basically two parts to it. You need to study, write an exam, that's the theory part of it, and then if you pass that, you then have to do a practical assessment. Now, for a basic level 1 guide, you write the exam, and the assessment is you take a game drive vehicle out with a number of guests, and there will be an assessor on the vehicle, and they'll see how you interpret the bush to the guests. It's not just a case of them asking you questions and trying to catch you out. It's more a case of you showing your knowledge, showing what you know to the guests and to the assessor. But then once you've done that, you'll then get a level 1 qualification, which allows you to guide in South Africa. There are a number of other little things that you need to do, driving licenses and so on. You also have to do rifle handling skills, because you do carry a rifle when you guide guests in Big 5 areas. But with walking assessments, you need to also write a theory exam, but then there's more to it than that. You also need about 100 hours experience walking in the bush, and it's about, I think it's 100 hours experience and about 50 encounters with wildlife on foot in an area. And you need to log all of that, and once you've done all of that, you then do a practical assessment. And that practical assessment, you need to find, you have to have at least 2 encounters with dangerous game, they call it, or large wildlife, so Big 5 basically. You need to have 2 encounters. So during the walk, a 3 or 4 hour walk, you have to try to get 2 encounters. It's not always easy. You have to view and then extract the guests and everyone out of that sighting, hopefully without disturbing the animal, but just to see your safety and what you go through. So it's not easy. So Henny, good luck to your son. I hope he does well. Let's head back to Tristan, who's still busy tracking. Hopefully he's got some luck now.
Well, unfortunately we haven't got too much luck. We just got more tracks going out, so we found where they came out of this area, and they're now heading northwards towards Zoe's and to the Balanites and down the road and back the way we've just come. So very, very cool that they're at least out. And I've just been looking at them, and I'm not sure these are Hosanas. They look like they might be a little bit big for him, but we know that Mvula was around Arathusa, so it could be for him that they've come out. They look slightly too big for a Hosana, but you never know. I suppose we haven't seen that much of a Hosana recently, and his feet are growing, so it could be him. It's kind of just that in-between size. They're not quite as big as Tinganas, but they're definitely not that small like Hosana had. I suppose it was 6 months ago, so his feet might have grown a little bit. But what is very cool is just inside this bush here, while we've been looking at these tracks, is the sound of some ground hornbills. Now, I'm not sure we're going to be able to hear it, but they're making this very hollow sound. It's such a cool sound to hear. And it's basically the female saying, "Honey, come to bed," and the male saying, "No, not yet." That's how it was described to me when I was learning, and I'll try and play it in case you can't hear it. So, can you hear it? We can hear it. Good. Ferg tells me that we can hear it, which is excellent news. Isn't that cool? So you can hear the first out and about, so just to sit and actually just take 2 minutes just to enjoy their call is very cool indeed. So Sean, you say that's so haunting. Well, it is, Sean. It's got that kind of hollow sound to it, so it will tie in very well with our horror story from last night. Imagine that calling in the darkness as as Byron said, as James creeps out of the bush at you in the night. Well, it would be part of our horror story for sure, I would imagine. Now our track's cut off by the looks of it into the side. Are you having trouble with your ambience there, Ferg? So, Ferg...
finger wagging in my ear.
So Alice has just told Ferg to turn down the ambience, and his reply was like, the ambience is down, and then he realized that he had only turned it down halfway. So don't worry, Ferg. It's a slip of the finger as opposed to a slip of the tongue that we have. Right. It's not Impala Plains side. This leopard has moved far though, that's for sure. Because there's nothing here. I checked here very carefully. There was nothing. I walked around a little bit and had a look. Definitely didn't come up this way, so it must have cut back in that direction. Now, there's another one that we could throw into the mix here, which is one that we haven't spoken about for quite a long time, and one that could very well be quite elusive, and particularly in the section that we're in. And why my mind just goes this way is because of where he grew up, but that could be Sindile. Now, we don't know where he is or where he's gone. We know that he's been seen around Elephant Plains every now and then, so it's possible it could be him moving through here. He would have feet that are this big. I don't think Hasana would move up this section and sort of hang around down this way. This is now getting into areas that he doesn't know, and so I would be very surprised if Hasana made it this way, but we'll check around and see. You never know. Hasana is a young boy and is exploring, so it could be him. But while we kind of check around and see if we can't just find who our mystery leopards feet belong to, or footprints belong to, Byron has finished his cup of Java, and Ferg and I were discussing, and maybe that's why he has such big biceps, because he's always just lifting cups of coffee and rusks into his mouth, and so he's trained his biceps very, very well. But we'll have to get more information from Byron himself.
No, Tristan, you just sound bored at the moment. Now, I'm checking very carefully around every corner just to see if we can't find some sign of a predator, but still no sign of lions anywhere. But you never know. Maybe we bump into a leopard along the way. Ali, yes, we definitely can hear leopard calls from our rooms at camp. So leopard calls, lion calls, we hear all of it. If they're close enough, we do hear all of it. Obviously the lion's call tends to travel a lot further than the leopard calls, but we'll hear a leopard if it's calling, definitely from our rooms. I've heard leopards a number of times while I've been in camp. Early hours of the morning, that sawing of a leopard. This is interesting. Hold on a second, let me just jump off here. Now look at this. Can you see this? A lot of mud that's been caked up against this tree. Now look, it's actually quite hard already. It's a little section of it. I'm just trying to have a look to see what I can find in the mud. Sometimes you can find little ticks or anything that have been rubbed up against the tree. Now this tree appears as if it's been used a number of times. And have a look here, because it's very smooth over here, just on this side of the tree here. Also, if we go up here, there's some older mud around here, and then all the way up here. So my initial thought was, I wonder what this could be, but judging at the slant of the tree and the height of it, it's definitely an elephant that has come and rubbed up against here. Maybe just the side of an elephant. Just trying to see if there are any tracks around here, and I don't see anything. Because rhino also will wallow in mud a lot, and they will come and rub up against trees too. But judging by the height, I wonder. No, I don't think this would have been a rhino. This is a little bit high over here, and because of the slant where it would have been, this would have been elephant. that's rubbed up against here, but also this right up here, that's all elephant. So elephant and that, they will use the same rubbing post from time to time. But as I said, rhino will too. They'll also use a similar rubbing post, not necessarily the same one. All depends if there's one close to a waterhole or mud wallow, and they'll rub up and rub the mud off of themselves. But it's interesting to see. This looks like possibly from maybe yesterday, or actually even a few days before that, because this is very hard at the moment. This has dried a lot. It hasn't been that hot, so the sun hasn't really been out to dry it as much as it has dried in just a day. So I would say that's probably a bit older. But you can see how they walk past. Nice little sign that animals have moved through these areas. Those are all little tricks that you can use and look for fresh rubbings to see if an animal hasn't moved through that area sooner than rather than a few days ago. You can judge by how fresh the mud is. Some buffalo dung on the ground, but we haven't seen buffalo for quite some time. I don't know where the buffalo have all been hiding. It was old buffalo dung, some old elephant dung in the road too now, but yeah, I don't know where the buffalo have been. Maybe we'll get some herds moving through the area later in the winter. That would be wonderful. Last year we had a herd that stayed in this area. Obviously with the drought they weren't very healthy, but we saw them every day. We saw herds of buffalo and groups of buffalo. Laura I wonder what the animals would look for if they chose to track us. Well, I think if they were following Tristan, they'd probably find a rubbing post somewhere that he would have gotten rubbed up against, scratching his back maybe. With me, they might find little rusk crumbs, possibly, on the ground. Okay, now I'm just going through a bit of a dodgy area with the signal. Going to go through a dip soon, but let's head over to Tristan and see if he's actually rubbing against anything.
Well, no, Byron, I'm not rubbing against anything, and hopefully you won't rub against me at any time soon as well. Ferg, you stop laughing behind me there. This talking ourselves into a corner here, aren't we? Now you can see we've got a yellow-billed hornbill that's busy bouncing around, and I came around just to see if I can't find those ground hornbills as well as our leopard, but alas, no luck so far. No tracks that I can see crossing into this area, so I'm not sure. We'll have to try and probably come back this afternoon, because they're heading more towards sort of Arethusa and Mobili side, and the likelihood of them still being here is very slim. But we shall maybe try, like I say, get Herbie and try and come out here this afternoon and see if we can't track down where this male leopard went to. But definitely nothing that I can see, and this road is nice because it's very puffy and sandy, and so any track on here is going to stand out extensively and we should be able to see it. So if we didn't find anything crossing over here, I'm pretty sure this leopard either moved somewhere sort of north of this, or maybe I'm just blind and I didn't see it and I was too busy taken aback by Byron wanting to rub things that I then just carried on. I don't know really. One of those two. So Dev, you're wondering if the color of a leopard changes throughout their lives. Well, no, not really. So in the beginning phases, yes, massively, because what happens is that you have a situation where when they're born, they're almost black in color because all their spots are packed so closely together, they can't actually you can't see any of the golden light colored coat that they have. It all looks quite dark, and then as those spots expand, so the color comes in. But I find with male leopards they tend to be a little bit more gold than the females. But I know James has discussed this ad nauseum of how he sort of thinks and feels that the Kruger bloodline and then the sort of bloodline of some of the other leopards are all a bit different in their coat colors. Some have richer color than others, but it doesn't really change throughout their life. You won't find that, let's say, Hosanna will start to become bright gold as he gets into a mature phase. That doesn't really happen. But what you will see is towards the end of their life again is the muzzle area starting to become lighter. So you'll find, like, if you see Mvula, he's got a very light muzzle area now, and sort of almost as though he's going a bit gray, if you want to call it, and is lightening up quite a bit around the face. But other than that, there isn't anything. Now, is our little diker going to stay still, Ferg? No, there it goes. And you can see a little diker just bounded away and out of this area. Typical little diker. As soon as you stop, they'll watch you as you drive past, and they'll be like, okay, I see you. As soon as they think that you've seen them, that's when the whole game changes, and they then bound away from you. You know what I have seen, Ferg? Is on your left hand side there at the no, they're behind on the base of the yeah. So there are a few dwarf mongoose that are busy sticking around in that area. Hello guys, good morning. So time for a bit of a sunbathing. So Lara, you were wondering where the dwarf mongoose had gone to. Well, there we go. They're around, and I've actually seen quite a few bounding around, but none of them sitting out in the sun. And it's probably the reason why we haven't seen too many of them is because we haven't had too much sunshine the last few days. It's been cold, it's been windy, and so these guys are clever. No need to be out in horrible weather like that. Rather go and tuck yourself in a termite mound and stay nice and warm inside there and use each other for body heat. And so that's why they've been inside. But today they're going to be ferocious feeders. They will probably be quite hungry from being cold, and the other side of it is that they know the soil, the top layer, might be a bit damp, and therefore it's going to be easy to dig in. We can actually see them now busy digging. So they're going along using their nose, and then they try and dig out little insects and grubs and varying other food sources that they can find, given that they are carnivores. Imagine how sensitive their nose must be to be able to smell an insect from sort of below ground. Really cool. I love watching these guys. They're so much fun. Yes, Gillian, their movements are jerky. It's kind of like Byron after his cup of coffee. He sort of becomes quite jerky in his movements as well. It's how these guys do things. No, it's just that they're busy little animals. They like to root around, and they kind of almost look as though they're hyperactive all the time. And so you'll find that they always sort of moving their heads, moving their legs, bouncing around. And that's to be able to try and find food as well as to look out for danger. And if they didn't have those jerky movements, you'd find they'd probably get caught out. They have to keep searching around them all the time because of how many things eat them. They need to be aware of their environment, and so that jerky motion means that they can look around them very quickly and make sure that they're nice and safe. They're such cool things. I love dwarf mongoose. They've got so much personality and character. It's always a joy to spend time with them. Now I can hear another type of animal approaching. It has bipedal in nature and is currently using a mechanical bull to drive around. It's amazing how sound carries in the bush. That car is far away and you can hear every word that the people are saying. There's our fork-tailed drongo. Now these guys, this is interesting actually, because we've got our fork-tailed drongo with the dwarf mongoose, and this is a common relationship that we'll see out here. You find that these drongos will also follow meerkats. So Byron will be able to tell us more about that from his time in Swalu, where the drongos will mimic the meerkat's alarm call. And so what happens is even with these mongoose, when they get an insect or a food item, the drongo then alarm calls just like the mongoose would. It imitates them and mimics them. And that mongoose then drops its food and runs quickly to its burrow to try and hide away from whatever potential threat there was. And it drops its food, and that then allows the drongo to come down and grab it. And so you'll often find where there's a dwarf mongoose, a drongo close by. But mongoose are not stupid, and neither are meerkats. And so when the drongo does it once, this mongoose and meerkats listen. When it does it twice, they still kind of take notice. But the third or fourth time, these guys realize, hang on a second, there's something going on here, and they will then not move. And the drongo comes down, and they actually chase the drongo back. And that's when the drongo will fly away and leave them alone. But a very cool interspecies relationship that takes place between the drongos and the dwarf mongoose themselves. Now, our mongoose have all departed the scene. Yes, good morning to you too, Franklin. Sure. Making lots of noise on our right-hand side here. But we're going to try and carry on and see what else we can find now that our mongoose have all disappeared and our drongos disappeared, and see if there isn't something else lurking for us here in this area. Come on, Shadow, where are you? I'd love to see Shadow as well and her cub. I haven't heard no updates about them and whether or not the cub is doing well. It's kind of gotten way past that danger period, and the cub should be doing fairly successfully now, and we should be seeing it a little bit more than we are. And so I'd like to know where she is. It would be really good if she popped out. I know Taylor was the last one that saw her on Safari Live, but you never know. It's always worth just checking this potential area. But alas, no sign of her at this stage. So I want to carry on. Byron is out and about still trying to find some animals, and maybe, like I say, he can regale us with some stories of meerkats and drongos.
Now, Tristan, I actually don't have stories of meerkats and drongos, even though I've been in an area where we've seen lots of meerkats, lots and lots of meerkats up in the Kalahari. We see them, but I've never seen the interaction between the drongos and the meerkats before. I've just watched how meerkats have an incredible sense of smell. When they're running along and looking for food, foraging for food, they'll pick up on the scent of a grub or a scorpion, and they dig them out, and it's really amazing to see. It's incredible. I'm trying to think if I've got a picture of one here that I can show you quickly, just of a meerkat busy digging out a scorpion, and it's amazing how they not quite immune. They still get stung, but they've built up definitely an immunity to the sting. It doesn't affect them as much as it would affect us, but it is still pretty sore, I think, and they just shake it off a bit and then they keep going. Hold on a second, I'm sure I'll find one for you now. But they're incredible creatures, and that interaction between the drongo and the meerkat is fascinating. I've seen documentaries on it where the drongos mimic the meerkat's call, an alarm call, so that the meerkat, if they catch something, they leave it and they'll run back to a burrow for safety, and the drongo will come down and pick up whatever it is they've caught. There we go. I'll show you that picture. There we go, that's better. Oh, look at that. That's a image I got with the meerkat that had caught a scorpion. You can see the pincers in the mouth there, and it ate the whole scorpion tail first, and then the two pincers sticking out of the mouth while it was busy feeding on that scorpion. That's quite a big scorpion that it caught. It just shows you and what they do, and it's amazing to watch them. So what they'll do is they'll dig a hole, get the scorpion out, pull it out quickly, and then often they'll jump off of it, but then just go, and they're so quick and agile, they'll go and bite the tail. So they break the tail actually, hold on, there's some baboons over here moving through the grass. Let's see if we can have a look, see if we can see them. It's very thick at the moment, but there was a troop of baboons moving through here. Hold on a second, let me move forward. So as I was saying, these meerkats will bite the tail, of the scorpion, so the scorpion can't then sting them, and then they kill them and then just eat them. Where did those baboons go? Oh, there's one in the road. Oh, there's a little one. There they go. They're the baboons. A troop of baboons moving through the area. Now, it's interesting. The other day we were saying we haven't seen them for quite some time. But now this is the second day in a row we've seen a troop of baboons. Not sure if it's the same one. Now, Rashni, you say maybe the baboons smelt the rusks. Maybe. You see what happens if we stop and take a break and things start happening. You still see there's a few just moving through there. It's quite thick at the moment, this area, but there are still a few baboons coming through slowly but surely. And off they go foraging for food here. Up ahead there looks like a big male moving through here. There he goes. Can you hear the hornbills? The hornbills are calling. Rashni, I don't know why the baboon's tails stand up like that. I have no idea. It's just the way the tails are shaped, I think. I don't think it's a specific reason. I don't think it's a following mechanism or anything like that, or a way for them to follow one another through long grass. I don't think so, because it's just the back part or portion of the tail that does that. So I'm not sure what the whole reason is exactly for that, but it's interesting to see, and I think who was it? It was everyone. It was James, I think, was asking about the baboon's tail, the little plant that we see, and it looks like the tip of a baboon's tail that stands up. And I haven't seen, but we will look out for them. We will look out for them and see if we can find them for you. But it does look like a baboon's tails. It's actually quite funny how many references there are to baboons. Now, the baboon's tail, that plant that we see, that is one. And then the other one is the baboon spider, which I'm sure you have heard of many times before. And some of you might be wondering, but why is it called a baboon spider? So it is called a baboon spider because the last two segments of each leg, so the legs of the baboon spider, the last two segments of each leg underneath look like fingers of baboons, or look like baboon fingers. So that's where they get the name baboon spiders from. Now, I read something interesting, and I think it was Judy H. Speaking about all the references and that to names and where some animals got their names. And Judy H., I think it was you, and thank you very much again for all the info you send in. But it was referring to the buffalo weavers and where the red-billed buffalo weaver got their names. So I think originally when they were seen, there was a reference made to them following buffalo around. It wasn't an accurate reference at all, and I think they did make a mistake. So they thought there was a symbiosis between the buffalo weavers and buffalo. So they called them the red-billed buffalo weaver, but it wasn't, and that's not the case at all. But I think that name then just stuck from there. So that's quite interesting, and I didn't know that. So thank you very much for that. It's always nice to read these interesting little stories of where the names may have come from, or the theories. And again, I say theories because some of them are theories. Some aren't necessarily 100% proven. Hold on a second, I'm just having a look here now. I see leopard tracks over here. They don't look very fresh. No. They don't look very fresh. But now this looks like that young female leopard, perhaps. It's walked along here. Now this is the area that we keep seeing her tracks. I keep seeing her tracks here. And I think it's possibly Shungile. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. But I think so. It's so frustrating that we keep missing her. I don't know where this leopard is hiding. Now, well, from one leopard track to another, and to the man who's been doing it all morning, Tristan.
We have indeed, and well, now we've not been very successful. We managed to stick up with Tingana and find him, but this other leopard seems to be giving us the runaround, and so no further luck. And then we just decided to sort of potter about and see what else we can find and see if there is anything else of interest out here. And of course, the best part about it is that it looks like the cloud is breaking up, so that's probably the most encouraging sign. Now I wonder where Byron's got his leopard tracks, because maybe it's the same leopard tracks that we've been following this morning. So it would be interesting to know where his tracks actually are and whether or not we can save him some time, because if he's following the same ones, he's going to have a very long morning if he's picked them up from the sort of southern side, because we know that they go quite far and head up towards the sort of northwestern corner. I want to just try and do one more row just in case I miss something. And it's funny, Ferg and I went back to the last track that came into the sort of section of Philemon's cut line, and the two tracks that we found, so the ones here on Philemon's cut line and the ones on Zoe's, don't seem to be the same size. I was in my mind a bit confused about it when we first saw them, and I was saying that they look a bit bigger, and came back to these ones, and these ones do look smaller than those ones on Zoe's. So I'm not 100% sure if it's the same leopard. It could be two different leopards. You never know. So what we'll do is definitely try and come and follow those tracks later and just walk through, and if we walk through with them, substrate can change the size of a leopard's track. So if it's softer sand, this paw print looks bigger. But I mean, I tried to compare two that were quite similar, and they don't quite look the same to me. Of course, I could be talking absolute nonsense, and they are exactly the same leopard. It's highly possible. So Byron says he's got leopard tracks at Shabamugari Main. Well, Byron, if you've got fresh leopard tracks there, I suggest you follow them as quickly as possible, because I drove there. So if they're on top of my tracks, then they are most definitely very, very fresh. I checked there very carefully, and there was no sign. Now, sorry, there's a dangling piece of our roof that pulled apart a little bit this morning when we were following Tingana, but there you see a beautiful brown snake eagle that is absorbing some sunshine on the top of a marula, and this is such a signature way that a snake eagle would sit. We always see them on top of the tree like this, that big rounded head, that very severely hooked beak, and then those bare featherless legs that come down from there. They also have the most beautiful eye, big bright yellow eye. Now my friend Byron, or Biceps, is calling me, so I'm just going to quickly talk to him. Go ahead, Byron. So Byron's just telling me about the leopard tracks. Okay, copy. Good luck. Maybe just check the fire break going to the west. I saw some kudu looking in that direction. Maybe get lucky. So we're just talking about where the tracks are, and we'll probably follow up on those this evening, this afternoon. But it's encouraging that we've both got a male leopard track and a young female track now that allows us to then go and follow up, and it's exciting times for our afternoon safari. Now, I was talking about our bird having these beautiful big yellow eyes, and you can see it there. They have the most incredible eye, and sometimes I really wish we could get much closer to some of our raptors, because their eyes are so sort of mesmerizing when you look into them, and they're big and deep and rich in color. It would be amazing just to be that much closer that we could see them. But look how it's just turning around trying to see if there's anything moving, and from there it will have a very good field of view. And we know in the last few days we've seen lots of snake tracks over the road. Byron's seen quite a few, I've seen quite a few, and so the snakes are moving with this different kind of weather that we've got, and they will sit up there, and as a snake goes across the road, so that eagle then swoops down and comes and grabs it. And the reason why they like snakes so much is because, well, it's easy to see them over open ground, and the second thing is that they have the perfect equipment to be able to deal with it. If you look on their legs there, you see that there is these long white legs, then down to the feet. Now those white leg areas have got hard scales, and so when they land on top of a snake, which they'll try and aim for the sort of just behind the head, the snake will try to turn and bite them, but its fangs will not penetrate those legs, and it means that the eagle can then dispatch the snake quickly with that sharp beak and then fly off and go and feed off it. So Zephyr, you say, wow, it's beautiful. It is a very, very pretty eagle. They often from afar look very drab, and people don't really take notice of them because of that brown body that they have, but that very bright yellow eye is very pretty. And I always like how they have this big bulbous head, and particularly when you get a bit of a breeze like now, you can see it pushes up a little bit and they get almost like a crest that develops. Very pretty. Now of course there is another type of snake eagle that we do get in this area called a black-chested snake eagle, but they're not that common here. You find them more in the open grassland sections of the Kruger National Park. So south in the Sabi sands around Singita, southern Londolozi, there's big open grassland there, and that's where the black-chested will occur. I have seen them here before up in the northern Sabi sands, but not nearly as common as what our brown snake eagle is. Very cool indeed. And this guy's being very obliging. So David, you're wondering how often they catch snakes in a day. David, I'm actually not sure. I mean, I'd imagine for a bird, it also depends on the size of the snake that they're hunting. You can think if this bird catches a 2-meter long python or mamba or cobra, it's going to be full, and probably would not have to hunt again for the next 2-3 days. But if it's smaller snakes that it's catching, then I would imagine it can probably consume 2 or 3 a day. But I think it just depends on the size. It's much like many of the predators out here. Their consumption of food and the amount that they actually get in a day is always dependent on the number of, or the size of the prey animal that they've caught previously. Right, we're going to sit with our snake eagle a little bit longer, see now that the sun's come out, maybe it takes to the skies to ride some thermals, and while we do that, let's go across to the master leopard tracker and see what's happening with his female tracks.
Oh, a bird just flew away. We wanted to show you. There's another one there, the green wood hoopoo. There it goes. Tristan, we haven't had any further luck with those leopard tracks, but we'll come and check again in that area this afternoon, I think. Definitely come have a look. Maybe we find that young female leopard. Now, and I'm actually just trying to think. The nice thing is that those baboons were in that area. Now, leopards don't like baboons very much, especially a young leopard. They'll be a bit nervous of the baboons because the baboons will mob them and chase them. So maybe she stays this side because those baboons were just south of our boundary. Now, we had those green wood hoopoos there. One did catch a little caterpillar that it was busy eating. And then we also had, there we've got some other birds that I want to show you. White-crested helmet shrikes. They really are pretty birds, beautiful little birds, but it's so tricky to see now. They've disappeared. They move quite quickly, they don't stop. They keep flying around. But nice little group of birds there. Nice to see those green wood hoopoos. And them busy looking for food. No. Just having a look. James, you asked if there are any bird species that target roosting bats. James. I don't know about roosting bats as such. I don't think so, because most of the birds that do hunt the bats will hunt off the wing. So basically, or on the wing. Is it on the wing or off the wing? Hunt on the wing. I think it's hunt on the wing. So that means they hunt while they're flying. And feed on the wing. That's the correct term. I think they feed on the wing. There are a number of different bird species, mainly birds of prey, that will hunt bats while they're flying. Some of the owls and that at night will possibly try and catch bats. During the day, up in Central Africa, in Zambia, in fact, you get these bat migrations, and it's a huge bat migration, bat movement in areas, and the crowned eagles actually go and catch those bats during the day too. A number of other eagles will also try and catch some of the bats, but not when they're actually roosting up in probably in trees or in roofs, underneath roofs. Not that I know of, James. I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but I don't know of birds that are able to come in and try and catch a bat while it is roosting. I would love to see those crowned eagles catching those bats up in Zambia. I think, if I'm not mistaken, is it Kasanka? I think it's Kasanka in Zambia. I'll stand to correction. I'll try to find out again. But I think it's Kasanka National Park, somewhere there, where those bat migrations are, or those huge bat movements. Huge colonies of bats moving through the area. It is Kasanka National Park. I just got confirmation from Siri in the final control. Thank you, Alice. Yeah, around October and December each year, you get the movements. Oh wow, look what we found, a brown snake eagle just flying off. Now Tristan obviously didn't find it, we found it. There it goes, and it's busy disappearing from us now. And I'm laughing because Tristan's in front of us. There he is. You can see the vehicle's leaning to one side, so I know Tristan is driving. Good morning, hi.
Byron, who's also here, he's going to be helping us this afternoon to try and find some leverage.
Hello everyone.
See you all later in Wild Safari.
I think Tristan is busy doing a little Facebook post there quickly. So we do those little Facebook posts too. and just to get people interested in Safari Live and get them to follow us and watch the show with us and join us. Oh, I think they were doing that brown snake eagle that just flew off, so they got a lovely view of it and then it disappeared. Right, nicely said. Now I saw a different snake eagle in the Kalahari, a black-chested snake eagle. Now that's a beautiful bird, the black-chested snake eagle. Even though it's actually more of a brown color than black. Slightly dark brown, but it looks very similar, and I'll show you a photo of one, and some of you might be surprised by this, because it looks like a martial eagle almost. Let me show you the black-chested snake eagle. Black-chested snake eagle, there we go. Now look at this, look at that. Doesn't that look like a martial eagle almost? Just if you look quickly at the coloration, it does look similar to the martial eagle, the coloration, but obviously martial eagle's got barring or little specks on the front. That dark chest or dark coloration doesn't come all the way down that far, so it is different. But we don't. It says we get them up here, but I've never seen black-chested snake eagle here. I don't think. I actually can't remember now, but they do occur in a lot of other parts of the country. Beautiful birds. Now, sorry, Alice, who was it that asked about the immunity that birds have to the snake venom, and if they do have immunity to snake venom? Nikki, sorry Nikki, you were asking about the birds that hunt snakes, and like these brown snake eagles, black-chested snake eagles, the secretary birds. The secretary bird is a great one, actually. And let me show you. Let me show you an image of the secretary bird, and that's a great story because I'll tell you why. They're fascinating birds. Now look at this. That's a pair of secretary birds over there. Again, this app of mine used to be able to turn the image and make it bigger. It doesn't anymore because I updated it. I don't know why. So if the owners of the app, if you could please fix the update, that would be great. These secretary birds, now you saw those long legs, very long legs, but what the secretary birds, and let me jump off quickly. Let me try to show you what the secretary birds do. So what the secretary birds do is they'll walk through areas looking for reptiles, mainly snakes. But they've got these long legs, and the feathers only go about halfway down the leg. The rest of the leg doesn't have feathers, and I'll explain why shortly. What they do is they walk and then they look for snakes. If they find them, they kick them, and they'll kick and try and kill the snake and then pick it up and feed it. Don't judge my secretary bird walk, but that's basically what they do. Now, the reason why they don't have those feathers all the way down their legs is because they've actually got very little bloodstream running right down the leg, and they've got thick scales on the bottom half of the leg, and that's to prevent the snakes from biting them. But again, if the snakes do bite them, they do bite that part of the leg or the foot, it's actually almost impossible for them to inject any venom because there's such a thin amount of blood that runs down to the leg. So thick scales with very little bloodstream, so that helps. That's how they've evolved to be able to hunt those snakes successfully. Similar with the brown snake eagles and that, they also don't have feathers all the way down the legs, also thick scales, so that also helps them. But if they do get bitten, the chances are that these birds would not have a strong enough immunity against those very venomous snakes. And there was a sighting not too long ago, it was last year I think it was Thandi and Tambo, if I'm not mistaken, that came across a brown snake eagle that had been bitten by a black mamba. I think the snake eagle tried to catch the mamba, and I think the mamba bit the bird, and then Thandi was, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong please tell me, but I think it was Thandi, and then Thandi was trying to get the black mamba, and an incredible sighting. Such a pity we missed it, but an amazing sighting nonetheless. I think it was seen on Nkoro, if I'm not mistaken. So that just shows you that the birds then don't have an immunity to the snake bite. They do have to be careful. Now we are finishing up with this sunrise safari. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for all your questions. Hope you've enjoyed it. From Tristan and Fergs, and from myself and Craig on camera, and the ladies in the final control, thank you very much. We'll see you all again this afternoon for our sunset safari. I can just see a dust cloud ahead of me. That's Tristan heading towards breakfast. We'll see you all shortly, or this afternoon. Goodbye everybody, have a wonderful day. See you soon.